What's up, Grizz Nation? I am Meghan Triplett. That's John Roser. He's got the item of the day. It's time for 3-point stands presented by Mountain Dew. Roser, we got to get you all the hottest things from the week. And let's start with the Memphis Grizzlies. It's a long weekend for us, coming off of Monday night's loss against the Pelicans. The Grizzlies are now 0-3. They just wrapped up the loss against the Pelicans. The final was 109-99. And now the question is, should we be worried? Should we be concerned? How are you?
I mean, look, they've had a chance in all three of these games. So they haven't led for many of the minutes. They led for 21 minutes in the Portland game, and they've only led for, in the other two games, a combined 4 minutes. Yeah, there are things to be concerned about. Like, they can't make shots. Like, Jaren's been able. Jaren got off in the fourth quarter a little bit last night. Jaren got off in the fourth quarter against New Orleans, and Jaren got off against Portland, and Jaren played well against San Antonio. But other than him, and then Grayson yesterday in the first half, they cannot shoot the ball from the outside. It has just been a disaster shooting the ball from the outside, and they want to space the floor and everything. I think another thing that's hurting them, and I think this does matter for a young team. One, they're playing nothing but like good teams. And the Grizzlies' record against against the teams in the bubble this year has not been good. It's like 19-32, and they're 13-3 against teams that aren't at the bubble. So, there's that too. I think another thing too, that San Antonio game, for instance, that San Antonio game was technically, with the virtual fans, it was technically a home game for the Grizzlies, right? It was the Grizzlies' virtual fans. And I think for a young team like that, for veteran teams, they don't care if they're at home or on the road. But I think that does matter for really young teams. And I do think in that San Antonio game, for instance, if they would have had if they would have been in FedEx Forum with fans in the stands when they really got going, I think that would have propelled them. And I think they probably would have won that game. The Portland game, they blew. They flat out blew the Portland game. They had that. You got an 11-point lead. You got that game. And then Portland's got veterans that have been in big spots before in big games, and they know how to take their time, get the shots they want, when then the Grizzlies come down and they just start jacking up bad shot after bad shot. They really have shown their youth in these three games. They really have shown their youth. And I thought yesterday there was a time in the fourth quarter, their heads hung down in the fourth quarter. Like, they sunk their heads. And that's the first time we've seen that from them, I think maybe all season, where they legit put their heads down like they don't know what to do. They're searching right now.
So are you concerned? Are you worried?
Yeah, because you play Utah, Oklahoma City, Toronto, Boston, and Milwaukee the rest of the way. Yeah, I would be concerned. Yes, there's absolute reason to be concerned.
You said it best when you look at what's the rest of the schedule and how these other teams have been performing in the bubble. We haven't figured it out. Ja, Jaren, Grayson, they've all said it. We are a great second half team, but that's not going to cut it when it comes to this bubble life. You got to figure out how to be a good four-quarter team that these other teams are, stepping out on. Because now this isn't the regular season where you have 30-something games to go. This is technically the playoffs. This is the playoffs. Teams have stepped up and said, hey, and we're also the hunted team. People, are hunting after us. We've always been the hunter. Now everyone's trying to get to our spot, and we're trying to avoid that play-in, tournament type of style game, because you just, if you can avoid it, you don't want it. And when you look at the teams and how they've kind of stepped up in Orlando, that goes into my next question for you is, who's been the team who's kind of like been the biggest surprise and the team that's kind of like the one to look out for?
I mean, there have been a couple. Look, I still think, I can't say I've been most impressed by them. I still think the Los Angeles Clippers are the best team. Okay. Despite the loss of the Lakers, they had no Montrezl Harrell. They had no Lou Williams. You put those guys back in the mix, and that is dangerous to deal with. Also, I watched the Lakers Jazz game. Anthony Davis is unfair. That should not be a real player in basketball. Players should not be able to do what he can do. Giannis is also unfair. I will say the two teams that have stood out, the Toronto Raptors. I was not buying them. I was a seller on Toronto that, and we'll still see because they got to do it in the playoffs. We'll still see how they look without Kawhi in the playoffs. but their ball movement and how they move that thing around and the team basketball they play, everybody's a high IQ player. The team defense they play, they are on a string defensively. And that was a great win over a Miami team. And that Miami team's impressive because they don't stop coming at you. They do not quit. That Miami team comes at you, and they make you beat them. The other one would be, you'd have to say, the Houston Rockets. That win over Milwaukee that's as impressive as it gets. Toronto's win over the Lakers, and then Houston's win over Milwaukee. Those probably are the two most impressive wins so far for teams in the bubble. That Houston team, I mean, if they're going to hit 20 to 25 threes in a game, like, you're going to have your work cut out for you trying to beat them.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think I'm going to go opposite. I agree with you when it comes to Toronto. And I think it's more of a matter of, we need to start putting respect on what the Raptors are. These are the defending champs. And for a while, we haven't been talking about them. Just because Kawhi is gone, and LeBron said it after they lost to them, like, just because Kawhi is gone, Kawhi wasn't the only reason why they won that championship last year. And now we're seeing it with, Fred VanVleet, the guy was unstoppable yesterday. He looked good.
I'm glad you brought him up. I'm watching this game on NBA TV after Chris Vernon's show ended.
Mm-hmm.
I go home and I'm watching that Miami Toronto game on NBA TV, and it's the Miami broadcasters doing it. And this was while the game's going on. It's in like the late third quarter, maybe early fourth quarter. They said Fred VanVleet has started 77 games. 77 games for Toronto in his career. He started 77 games, and their record is 59-18 with him as a starter. So add that win yesterday, he has started 78 games for the Raptors, and the Raptors record when Fred VanVleet starts is 60-18.
Wow.
That's incredible.
Yeah,
That's unbelievable, and he was amazing yesterday.
I think if you ask any Raptors fan, like 5 years ago, would you have said Fred VanVleet would have been your guy? And we saw that yesterday when it comes to 7 of 12 from behind the arc. We could use some of that 3-point shooting on our team.
Yeah, we could use anybody with a 3-point shot. Anybody. I'm with you on VanVleet. Like, I loved VanVleet at Wichita State. I loved him in college.
Yes.
I didn't see him being this in the NBA.
No,
I thought he was an NBA player. Just I'm like, that dude, something about him, like, he really, like, it sounds cliche, but like, he's just a basketball player. The dude knows how to play the game. He just gets it. And I thought he's going to be a career backup point guard. Someone maybe kind of like a Tyus Jones. Like, he's going to be a steady guy. He comes in there, he runs the show. The Grizzlies miss him, by the way, but he comes in there, he runs the show, knows how to get the team into their offense. Going to be a steady defender. Every now and then he may have a game where he gets you 15 points, but for the most part, he's probably going to score between 6 and 8. He's going to dish out 4 or 5 assists, and that's going to be his career. But he is much better than that. No, shout out to Fred VanVleet.
Yes, he's a superstar on that team. So I'm going to go with Toronto and also Portland. And not just for what they were able to do against us. I mean, this team is healthy. And so it's a very different Trailblazers team that we saw a couple months ago. And how they're able to fight back in that Celtics game when you have, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown stepping up and, dominating on the court. Portland is a team, and I'm terrified of saying it because I know they're looking for our spot. I think that's a team who's going to do some damage, who has the potential. Of Nurkic back, they are looking.
They're
good.
A totally different team with him back, and Zach Collins back there too. Like, they are a totally different team. Now it's going to be interesting. They play. Is it tonight? They play Houston tonight. I believe it's tonight. It's tonight or Thursday they play Houston, but I think it's tonight they play Houston. Tonight. I mean that's because Portland has those bigs.
Right.
And Houston is going to play small. Does Houston shoot it so well? They force Portland to just go small with them and play small, and then that would be to Houston's advantage. No, and I think another team, if it wasn't for Shake Milton last night, we'd be saying the San Antonio Spurs would be one of the impressive teams. I mean, they were down 12 going into the fourth quarter against Philadelphia and came back and had a 4-point lead and then had the 2-point lead. And, I mean, just a heck of a shot by Shake Milton. These games, we have had a ton of great games in the bubble.
It's a great thing, and you're right. They play tonight, so we should probably check back tomorrow. So you're saying one of your surprising teams is the Rockets. Mine saying is the Portland. That's going to answer a lot of questions, especially about I think both teams. So I should check back with you. I'm gonna call you tomorrow.
Because with Houston, that win over Milwaukee is Milwaukee. Yeah, no. I don't know if you realize this about the Bucks. They crush everybody. And they built early in that game. They built like in the second. They built. Yeah, they built with the Bucks. Milwaukee built like an 11 to 13 point lead, and usually when they build that lead doesn't go down to 6. It goes up to 20, and they weren't able to do that. And Houston just stayed the course. And Russell Westbrook and James Harden able to make the plays. They got to the free throw line and they hit 21 threes. And if they're going to hit those threes, it's like they're tough.
Yeah, and defense was really, really key for them. It's something that you kind of normally don't say about Houston very often. And so they're figuring out these things, and they knew coming in they're playing small ball. They've made some adjustments, and they are executing, and they look good. Now, before I let you go, I gotta talk to you about the news coming out from the Bachelorette. I need to know this. I need to know your answer about this. So the biggest thing is Clare Crawley. She was a Bachelorette. They're filming in this resort, kind of like a bubble. She has fallen in love in 2 weeks. She's found her guy. She's leaving the resort. Bachelor scramble, got someone else from the Bachelor franchise, Tayshia Adams from Colton Underwood's season. And it's kind of asked the question because a lot of people, former Bachelors and Bachelorettes, have came out and said, if I could have told you who I was going to choose early on, but you kind of have to ride it out because you signed a contract. You got to go through the whole 3 months. Would you, if you're the Bachelor, would you have written it out and said, or you'd be like, you know what? This is who I love. I want to leave. No point of doing all these dates and these one-on-ones, meeting people's families.
I thought you were going to ask me if because apparently fell in love after 2 weeks. I thought you were going to ask me the over/under on how long it lasts. I'll probably give it like 3 months over/under. I'd probably take 3 months over/under it lasts. Yeah, I think you stick it. I think you got to stick it out. I think you stick it out because you never know. You never know what happens over the whole time of the show. Because the truth is you don't know somebody after 2 weeks. You don't see people, I don't know, their true colors or whatever, but it takes time to really actually get to know somebody and decide like, okay, you don't know any like weird quirks about them or anything like that. Like we all have our quirks about us. But like you basically, you can't really know somebody after 2 weeks. To say you're in love after 2 weeks is, I'd say 3 months tops. 3 months tops.
There is a conspiracy theory of because they had started filming, like they only got like a day or two in before the Corona hit. Did they stay in communication during the hiatus before they came back and started filming again? That's a conspiracy theory. But however, regardless of the case, I think I would have left. If I had found my person, regardless if it was in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I can't sit and fake and pretend to go on dates with other guys that I'm not interested in, because the whole time I would be thinking about whoever is the person that I'm actually, wanting to go run off with. And the fact that Claire's 39 and I'm not saying that her age out there, because I know people hate talking about age. I do think she's probably more serious about it because, usually you got 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds like, I want to fall in love. Oh my God, whatever. She's 39. She's been there before. She's been on the season before. She's been on Bachelor in Paradise, Bachelor Pad or whatever. And she's probably like, this is it. Like when you know, you just know. I mean, I would want to still say it out if we're taking the trips and then going to different countries. I probably would write it out. Like, you know what? I kind of want to travel a little bit. I'll, kiss some frogs, meet some moms and say, oh, your son's great. But you're stuck in a resort in the desert of California. It might not be nice. You're like, get me out of here. It's a pandemic. You're my dude. Come back to my place. Let's get to know each other, no cameras, and do the real thing.
You fall fast, don't you?
I know when I know, and I know when it.
All right.
It's not. I definitely know when it's not early.
Quote the great Pusha T, if you know, you know.
There you go. And you know what, Rosa? We're out of time, so we got to get out of here.
Too personal, aren't we?
Yes. We got to get out of here. Thanks for watching 3 Point Stands presented by Mountain Dew. Rosa, same time, same place next week.
Mountain Dew.